message and I guess inspiration for this week. And like I said, I realize I've made some enemies. I don't mean to, but I suppose you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Yeah, Bob, and I know that you talked about those two constituencies. You talked about being a white male. You talked about being Christian, and you've had these great kind of back and forth on Twitter. But one thing that you said was being racist is not enough, and that you must now be clearly anti-racist. And so, for you, how does that manifest? How is that different than the way you've maybe viewed something like that before?
I think it really boils down to, and unfortunately, this leads us to a lot of family gatherings, I suppose. And I don't feel like I have a racist family, but I do feel like there are certain things and ideas that are spread from older people in the family to younger just by, hearing. I just think there are things that are unproductive. There are things like, these people always do this, and this causes this problem to us, and I just don't think that's productive anymore. And so I think a position, saying you aren't racist is probably true. I think most good Americans aren't racist. But I do think most of us are extremely tolerant, especially of friends and family, to allow them to continue to hold those positions. And more importantly, to be vocal and influence younger people on what's okay and what's not okay. So I guess, moving the position to it's probably not good enough anymore to be indifferent. You need to be willing to hold a position of being anti-racist, which at times is going to get you called names and woke and liberal, SJW or whatever. But hopefully it will help. Even at family gatherings, which is uncomfortable, it will help people kind of see a viewpoint that even influencing the youngsters in all of our families is just counterproductive unless we're trying to teach them that there's one race, the human race. And, I think people have tried to get that message across since the beginning of time. So I'm not naive enough to think a sports guy in Dallas is going to really move the needle, but I also want to be able to sleep at night, and I want my kids to see the world in that view. And if those are the only people I influence, then that's fine too.
Yeah, Bob, you mentioned, white guys and being a fellow white guy like you, a white Christian male I guess I'm affluent. Like you said, I feel like that was a really key moment, at least for me, because there's a lot of dudes that are like, hey, I didn't own slaves. I don't hate black or brown people. I grew up with black and brown people and played ball with them. I didn't come from wealth. I'm not quote unquote privileged. Stop blaming me for all this. They want to walk away. I think there's a lot of dudes that have had that same feeling bubble up. What's your suggestion to these guys to help them deal with it? You said set it aside and get past it, even if it's just between their ears. And what do you think? What do you think the impact can be if we can accomplish that?
Man, I honestly think the sky's the limit of what we can accomplish because I think, like I said, and my family is not happy with me taking the position that abortion is not the only problem in the world. And, I realize that is the ultimate hot button issue. And let me take a stand on that. Yeah, I wish abortion didn't exist. That's my personal view. And hopefully that is not one that is completely unwelcomed in this society. But at the same time, I know the Bible pretty clearly teaches me that a sin is a sin. And therefore, to rank that one as the be-all, end-all, that we're willing to completely sell the universe to end the world of that one vote or that one issue is just, I feel like we've moved to a point where that's going too far. And, the simple question of, okay, if every baby is born that's conceived, are we willing to take care of them? So what's our position on, healthcare for poverty? What's our position on, the children, the immigrant children that we were so quick to to pass, at the border, separate from their parents. And I will tell you, I met some of those immigrant children. I know that they are not the gangsters and killers that they were described by the sitting president. I just think it's wrong to basically scare society into thinking that everybody from Central America is a gang leader, and which is very similar, I guess, to what the Willie Horton stuff in the late '80s did. In the Bush Dukakis election. Again, I want to be clear. I really am not a political person, but I do think as a Christian, it's my job to attempt to, allow Jesus to be my role model, his message of love and forgiveness and gentleness and basically the Beatitudes. I want that to kind of be my life view. Now, I'm not trying to be intolerant of people who don't want to go that route, but I think it's my job with my platform to at least speak up in moments like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, these aren't lukewarm. We are with Bob Sturm. He is from The Ticket. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how this might play out in the NFL coming up. So hang with us through the break. Deconstructing Dallas, Shawn Williams, Ryan Trimble. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, Deconstructing Dallas. Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams, joined today by the Ticket's own Bob Sturm, who may or may not be getting an invite to Family Thanksgiving this year. Stay tuned on that. But Bob, we wanted to jump in. This week, Drew Brees put out a series of statements, and I feel like Shawn and I had a similar experience. We were, I tried to broach the subject of patriotism in an off-air conversation, and we had a pretty robust discussion about it. Drew Brees tried to do the same this week and balance patriotism with racism and kind of be everything to everybody, and took a lot of heat for it. What's your thoughts on what he tried to do, and how do we balance these two issues?
Well, I first want to say that my knowledge of Drew Brees is he is a generally, a good dude, and he I think was probably not expecting that question, and then probably didn't think it through. And I'm cutting him enormous slack, which we definitely show favorites there. But I think in general he's not a problem. But I do think when we talk about these issues, I do think one way that it constantly follows the same script, guys, is for us to change what the debate actually is. And we've already seen that this week. We saw that with Kaepernick. We've seen this a million times, is that one side wants to be heard. The other side doesn't necessarily have a great answer. So it's kind of the hidden ball trick. And it works magically on society, because if you can make them believe that a social justice reform means that you don't like America, then nobody will actually hear your actual message. They don't want to hear it at all, because we've all had grandparents who fought for this country, and we're all proud to live here. So I think that's just an arguing maneuver, which is unfortunately what most social media and yes, political debates turn into, is very talented debaters on each side showing you that they're talented by influencing millions with magic tricks, sleight of hand, and really never actually diving into the issues at hand. That's another trick as old as time, and it's upsetting. But in the end, I think he understands that a football locker room is an extremely sacred place where very little relative to society racism exists in the locker room. I think that's what's great about sports is that we meet people from other cultures, we meet people from other skin colors, and we quickly realize that they love their mom, they love their kids, they just want to buy a house and make a good living and make their family proud, just like we do. That's true in Honduras and Guatemala and Mexico. That's true in Russia. And that's obviously true in Black America. And if we can all realize, I mean, this is again as old as time. When World War I and World War II were happening, it was very easy to paint an entire culture in a way so you didn't mind killing them. And you didn't mind attacking them and bombing their cities and killing their innocents because they weren't real people. They were a caricature of what we made them into be. This is way older than any of us, guys. And that's why I'm kind of sad, but also it's pretty typical that this is how this debate always goes, because it's way easier to slander the other side, turn them into caricatures, than to actually address, the unhealed wounds of many generations.
I got a question based on what you just said, and it's kind of for both of you guys, because it's this whole patriotism conversation. And Bob, you said, we all know that everybody's, fathers, grandfathers, fought in World War I, World War II. And when Drew Brees makes a statement like he made, I literally wonder, does Drew Brees know that my grandfather fought in World War I? Does Drew Brees, do these folks who talk about patriotism, do they know that the first person who died in the American Revolution was Black? Do they know that anytime they talk about military action or patriotism, Black people have been there the whole time? Because I literally don't think that they know that, and definitely don't think that it comes into their mind.
Yeah, no, I have realized over the course of this week that really the issues are far deeper than any of this, and it kind of goes back to just education and how we're taught in schools about other cultures, how we're comfortable having conversations that basically outflank our textbooks that we were told, because our textbooks were incredibly written from one slanted perspective about our enemies and about our wars and our conquests. And again, nobody is a bigger fan of history and prouder of our country than me. I really don't think that's possible. But I also realize that with that is coming to terms that we weren't always the good guys. Things in World War II that we did, you can definitely raise massive question marks. Now, it's always justified by saying, well, the other side did worse things. And that's how human behavior never changes, is that if we can make the other side in any, disagreement the bigger offender, then we can always feel good about where we're at. So I think it starts in schools. And of course, that's a whole different topic, guys, where we have to get people running school boards and municipality governments to be open to the idea of giving a more balanced view on how we got here as a country. And in 1865, the window didn't go up on slavery, and voila, everybody was happy and affluent and educated and living in nice ranch style homes. That just didn't happen. And I'll be honest, I get more and more educated on that every day, or every year of my life, I should say. Probably not every day. That might be overstating it, but it's my education as I near 50 years old is a ongoing process, partly because I didn't care for a long time, and then I didn't even know where to look for a reasonably balanced view. And so I take inspiration from guys like Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr, and the conversations they've had that have actually challenged me to consider the fact that, it's possible that my side, good Bible believing white people, I guess, took a lot of wrong steps, and that's okay. We follow a perfect savior, but we're not perfect. But a big part of it is to be willing to right wrongs, to be humble enough to understand we or our ancestors did not have all the answers.